Also, guys, when you have plants as vigorous and healthy, it's really hard to overwater them. Make it simple. Ignore the Mississippi count. Just soak them. Weekend plans? Got that party to go to? Hanging out with friends? Can't water them tomorrow? Give them extra water now. Sometimes fig growers are really scared of watering a plant for two main reasons. Fig cuttings, different rules. This doesn't apply to that. And number two, we all hear the stories of figs splitting, getting watered down. They are still growing. Water them. Plant health over taste any day of the week, guys. Keep going. What's going on, YouTube? Okay, this is a video I really wanted to make. This is definitely a topic I really want to discuss and maybe give you some tricks and some theories about watering. So let's get to this. I'm gonna get my hose ready and we'll go from there. All right, guys, so let's talk about watering. This is probably one of the most hardest subjects to really explain. So I'm gonna try to demonstrate as much as I can. So let's talk about the number one myth about watering for someone that's growing figs in containers here is when it rains, we don't need to water. That is so not true. And I'm gonna prove that to you in a second here. But when it rains, think about it. If it rains only for an hour or 2 hours, you got these plants that are pretty much sheltering this small container. When I say small container, I have 15 gallons here. But let's visualize this. Rain's coming down, it's hitting the leaves, maybe touching some of the surface, and then just dripping off and falling off and not even hitting the soil. So for some reason, it's cold today. The grass is very dewy, very wet. But let's look at the soil line here for a second. So it didn't rain at all yesterday. I actually watered all of these plants, just a couple water, about 16 ounces, just because I saw it start to dry out and I really didn't have time much to water. But if we peel away from this wet, damp media, you can see my soil media, which is peat base, which most of you guys are doing as fig growers. And I keep digging. You can see the roots and digging. I'm gonna go aggressive here for you guys. You can see it's maybe 2 inches down now, and it's starting to be damp. Okay, even with this much dampness, we still need to upkeep the moisture in these pots and in these containers. Sorry, plant. So my point being is, when it rains, it doesn't do enough to moisten or saturate the pot. It is just not enough. So we want to be mindful of that. So let me take my hose here and show you an example here. We dug it down about 2 inches, and I'm going to show you something to really understand watering. All right, got my hose. Count this with me, all right, guys? 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi. While that's soaked in for a little bit, I want to show you guys something that kind of helps me understand how much to water. There's a rule I learned when I first started gardening. you want to water your plants about 3 to 5% of the container size. So if I am doing 15-gallon containers, media, age of the plant, what plant I'm growing, how much it's drinking, temperature in the environment, all of these factors change this number around for us, and that's what we need to master as growers here. So I have this bucket. I hope you guys can see it. So I have this container that pretty much has some measurements on it. So if my pot is 15 gallons and I want to water 5%, what that means is I want to water my plants at least 1 gallon a day. So here's a little trick. When you're watering, I just count Mississippis. So count along with me, guys. That's the 1 mark. I'll leave my finger there so you can see it. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 11 Mississippi, 12 Mississippi, 13 Mississippi. So that was about 13 Mississippi to water 1 gallon to my pots. That's how you practice watering, guys. So if you're watering a 5-gallon bucket, which most of us fig growers are or start at, that is 3 Mississippis. So practice this and you'll learn how to master watering. Okay, so let's go back to this container because I want to show you. We did 5 Mississippis on there, right? We saw the other side and how damp it was. This is 5 Mississippis of the water having a chance to kind of penetrate the top couple surfaces. So let's see how much it actually wet in the soil. It's wet. Wet. It went down pretty deep, guys. Still wet. Yeah, so that is my hand. So in 5 Mississippis, we have sufficiently played it safe. So that means if I did the 10 Mississippis, I would really saturate this container. And again, guys, I am very on point with my watering. I make sure never to let my containers dry out more than a day. So let's go ahead and finish up the watering here. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi. So that is a total of 10 Mississippis. Oh, we need 12, I'm sorry. 11, 12 Mississippis. And that should be enough to keep our containers saturated daily water. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 11 Mississippi, 12 Mississippi. I want to show you something. So see this? That is runoff. So this is runoff. There's nothing really wrong with it, and it's okay. But for someone like me that really spends a lot of money on my soil mix, making sure I have all of these amendments in there, this is money running out on me. So this is not how I like to water. It's, again, completely acceptable to water like this. But for me, what I do is I will water in stages. It's definitely a lot more work, but again, I am putting too much money into my soil mix to let it run out on me. So let me show you another example of how I water. So let me show you how I would water this 2 rows of my fig plants. Again, I can't stress enough how much I love this flexi hose. I highly recommend it. It makes watering so much easier. There's no crazy angles that I have to hold this hose. easy to put away. So what I'm gonna do here in these 2 rows is, in our count of 12 Mississippis, I am gonna hit these about 2 Mississippis each, and then come back to them in a few minutes later. Okay, so I hit all of these plants with 2 Mississippis. While we're waiting for that water to hydrate some of that peat, some of my media, and start to expand and soak in, I want to show you something. So I have this plant. It's a Aliana from Notorious Fig. Huge plant in this 10-gallon container. It's been in this container for about 2.5 years. It is definitely needs to be root pruned. It has outgrown its container, and it's just drinking a lot. So something like this is one of those things that you have to be really mindful as a gardener, that this plant is drinking a lot, needs more water. So it's just not a simple formula of 12 Mississippis or 3 Mississippis. Is you need to really understand the needs of your plants. Every plant is different depending on how much fruit it's holding, what the plant is telling you. Are the leaves standing up and praying like so? Or are they down like this and droopy? Let me see, yesterday when I came out after work, I came back here and you can see this Ronde Bordeaux, all of the leaves were super down. It looked very sad and it needed to be watered. I didn't water it, but you can see how much a little moisture from Mother Earth has kind of perked it up. But as a steward to my garden here, I need to realize that this Ronde Bordeaux is raging on me. It needs water. We had a little bit of time for that 2 Mississippis of water to soak in a little bit. So imagine with all my fig plants here, I would do a whole lap of watering, of a light watering. It doesn't need to be 2 Mississippis. I'm just trying to give you an example. I will come back a second time and do another half of it. So this will be 5 Mississippis. Okay, that was 5 Mississippis. All right, so while that soaks in some more, let's go ahead and talk a little bit more about watering. So as a novice gardener, you're probably asking yourself, when is the best time to water? The school of thought generally is you want to really water in the morning. That's probably the best time. It gives the plant the opportunity to drink up that water for the remaining day. But also be mindful too, we all have lives, we all have busy schedules. So if you can't do morning, evening would probably be the next best time, and then followed by during the day. Again, we are slaves to our plants. We water when they need to be watered. You're not gonna ever make the excuse that I shouldn't water my plants because it's daytime. No. If your plant is telling you that it needs water really bad, you should go ahead and water it. One of the things you want to do, and the reason why you want to water in the morning, is when you're watering container plants like these, the last thing you really want to do is get the leaves wet, like so. The reason you want to water in the morning is this gives the water enough time to kind of dry off, run off the leaves. If you water in the daytime, you wet your leaves like this, these little water droplets become magnifying glasses to the intensity of the sun and could really cause some damage. So that is one of the reasons that you really want to water in the morning, just in case. So we're at the Smith second year tree, 15 gallons. We have watered it 2 times now, 2 Mississippis and 5 Mississippis. As you can see, there is barely any runoff right now. So what I'm gonna do is kind of show you the importance of watching for runoff. That's pretty much a good indication that your pot is wet, especially when you get to this stage. Also be mindful when you start watering for the first time. If you see runoff right away, that generally means that your container is really dry. That water is just bouncing off that peat straight to the sides and running down. That is when you really need to do some serious deep watering, and we'll go through that in just a second. But we'll do another 5 Mississippis on this container pot, and we'll watch for the runoff. Okay, that was about 4.5, 5 Mississippis I counted, and you guys can see it's running off right now. I am good with this container right now, at least for the day. If it's really hot, and it's just not hot yet, but when it gets really hot, you might have to water these containers 2 times a day, or maybe even 3 times a day. So again, it's running off. This container is okay for me right now, so I'm satisfied with how much saturation is in this container. I've actually taken the opportunity to water most of my plants already, but I did leave one plant unwatered because I want to show you one more thing before we go. I'm underneath my San Biago espalier here. This container media has started to pull away from the pot, so it's telling me that it needs a little bit more watering. I can do the exact same thing I just showed you in the first part of the video, but I want to show you how you can slowly hydrate a container. Okay, so what I'll do is 2 Mississippis, maybe that was 3 Mississippis. My intention there is really, you can see, guys, can you see it? It's just running. Great indication that this pot is really dry when it runs that fast. So there's really different methods to resaturate your containers. One of them, and you see Lou talk about it, taking his plants and dunking it in water. Yeah, that's cool, but for someone like me that's spending tons of money on my soil mix, I do not want to leach out my soil mix, so that is not an option for me. Again, we can slow water it, come back multiple times throughout the day, keep it saturated, and try to go through that way. We can use products like saponins, watering agents, to help break that water tension in the soil, get that media really wet really fast. And the easiest solution is you can just really slow drip it. And we already had an instance maybe in June where we just had scorching hot week. What I did was, you can either see that? Barely anything. Leave it in the container. Go spend time with the family. Set a timer, maybe 30 minutes, and come check on it from time to time. And all you're doing is you're slowly hydrating it. Maybe a little bit more. Good. Hang it. From a branch, so you can keep an eye on it. You can get pretty fun stuff like this. Opens up, control the flow. Again, if you have a lot of these plants, again, the best way to really water it is with a drip irrigation. That's one of the projects that I'm definitely going to be working on. But all right, guys, make sure to hit that like, subscribe, definitely comment. You guys know I respond right away. I love talking to the community. And peace out, guys. Love.